In the last video, I improved my alien by reducing its size and adding more posability. But now it's time to finally start building out the structure of the MOC. In this video, I'll take you through the process of interpreting the iconic encounter room seating into LEGO bricks. I need to accommodate a few things with this build. I need a design that I can replicate a lot of, and since it's a circular room, the seats need to connect on some sort of flexible hinge so they can be positioned in a circle. I looked at the seating in the Lord of the Rings Rivendell set for some inspiration, since those chairs are pretty similar to what I want to do. I like that they're all connected as a sub-assembly, so I think I'll steal that for mine. It'll be helpful to be able to remove and replace the seats easily. I like the NPU going on here with the sausage and ice pop elements. Fun fact for you, NPU stands for Nice Parts Usage, which is a way that LEGO builders like to show off by putting hot dog pieces in everything. The Rivendell chairs are also a really good size to hold minifigs, which I'll talk about later. I think my seats will have to be a little chunkier to match the ones on the attraction. Another thing I need to accommodate with this build is my own budget. I don't have that much money to spend on LEGO, so I'll have to be really smart about what pieces I use since I'll have to make so many of these things. In fact, I'm not entirely sure how many chairs I'll end up making. I've designed a few things digitally in Bricklink Studio, but I haven't mapped out the entire thing yet, so we'll see. The purpose of this video will just be to nail down the design of the chairs, so I'll build a few of them now, and then down the line I'll do the work of replicating them. While searching for inspiration on how to build these unique chairs by looking at other LEGO sets and other LEGO MOCs, I was struck by how there was no real standard way of making LEGO chairs. Even across most official LEGO sets, the same type of chair is almost never constructed in exactly the same way. I could absolutely phone it in and use pre-molded elements. For example, I think using bracket 3x2, 2x2, aka space seat, would be really cool, but I want to make them more accurate than that. I really like the specific, unique design of the chairs from the attraction. But that got me thinking about the vast variety of chairs in general, not just LEGO chairs, but like chairs for humans. I have probably 5 or 6 different types of chairs just in my own house, not including the seats in my car. Completely different chairs for completely different purposes. If I was going to build my own house out of LEGO, I wouldn't use a pre-molded LEGO chair piece to represent any of these chairs. I would want to build each of these chairs differently. So I did that. After building these chairs, I feel like I now better understand the art of the chair. Who invented the chair anyway? Why? Why not sit on the ground? Who discovered that it's more comfortable to sit somewhere halfway between standing and on the ground? What guy was like about to sit on the ground but then stopped halfway down and was like, nah, I want to stop right here. Okay. After doing some digging, and by digging I mean skimming Wikipedia, it looks like the first chairs were known to exist in ancient Egypt, as early as the Second Dynasty of Egypt of the early dynastic period, which began in 2890 BC, which was 4,915 years ago. Which is actually crazy when you think about how anatomically modern humans evolved somewhere between 400,000 and 250,000 years ago. Literal hundreds of thousands of years went by where humans just had to uncomfortably stand or sit or lay on the ground. Those were the only options. I mean, I'm sure that somewhere in there dudes probably sat on rocks or, the carcass of a mammoth they just killed or whatever, but we didn't have legit, specially crafted chairs for hundreds of thousands of years. Pharaoh Ninetjer, which I think I'm pronouncing right, maybe, it's probably wrong, but Pharaoh Ninetjer was the first guy to be recorded sitting on a chair. From around that time period, they found a lot of chairs, and most of them were at a height of around 10 inches off the ground, which seems pretty uncomfortable to me, but obviously chair technology wasn't as advanced then. They hadn't discovered the perfect chair height yet. Back in the ancient times, Egypt had a huge influence on civilization, so after a while, chairs started appearing all over the place. Greek chairs, Roman chairs, etc. But they were also independently created in places like China, Sub-Saharan Africa, or within the Aztec Empire. For a pretty long time, chairs were considered somewhat of a luxury, at least in Europe. Chairs specifically. I think stools were more widely available, but the carnal pleasure of a back and armrests were gate-kept away from the common filth for quite a while. In the Renaissance, things turned around when they weren't reserved for people with a high office anymore. They were available for anyone who could buy them. Through time, chair design was changed to accommodate contemporary fashion trends. So, for example, when it was in vogue for women to wear large dresses with lots of padding, chair design changed a little to accommodate that. Historically, chairs have been made out of wood, mostly, but also used leather and other materials for ornamentation or extra comfort. Back in Sub-Saharan Africa, the Ashanti culture believed that the chair one uses in life holds its owner's soul, and that the well-being of the soul of the chief, who they believed to be a divine ruler, would dictate the well-being of the entire kingdom, so their chairs would be preserved in a shrine after their death. They had a very personal relationship with the chairs they used. Throughout history, chairs have been made more and more comfortable, artistic, and have become symbolic of the way human beings build things to accommodate ourselves and make the world around us fit our needs. We've innovated chairs to be more and more comfortable and even necessary. For those who were incapable of walking, people invented the wheelchair in the 1500s so that disabled individuals could have access to basic mobility. In 1655, a paraplegic clockmaker invented the first self-propelled wheelchair so that he could move independently. As far as comfort goes, in 1850, the first reclining chair was invented. In 1851, the first rolling chair. 1954 saw the advent of the electric massage chair in Osaka, Japan. 1958 gave us the egg chair. 10 years later, in 1968, we were given the innovation of the beanbag chair. In the 1970s, NASA discovered the biomechanical science behind healthy sitting posture. In 2006, the company DX Racer converted unsold exotic luxury vehicle chairs into the first gaming chairs. Every innovation in chair technology for 5,000 years was made in an effort to bring more comfort to more human beings. That is, except for the chairs that weren't designed for comfort. Chairs that were created for the sole purpose of inflicting misery. The iron chair, where the victim was strapped to an iron chair, covered in between 500 and 1,500 metal spikes, seated on plates of brass, and held over an open flame, heating the chair and slowly killing the victim. The electric chair, where the victim was strapped to a wooden chair and electrocuted through electrodes attached to the head and legs, causing ventricular fibrillation and cardiac arrest, leading to a painful death. The ExtraTERRORestrial Alien Encounter chair, where the victim was secured by painful shoulder restraints and subjected to psychological torture in the form of simulated primal danger. These chairs were the antithesis of the philosophy of comfortable seating, a perversion of a monument of mankind's creativity and drive to shape the world around them. Comfort, accessibility, and inclusion, core tenets of the concept of sitting down, were replaced with abuse, debilitation, and isolation. To quote the evil spirit Makuta from Bionicle, Mata Nui the online game, "The people of the world are builders, but look into their hearts and you will find that they also have the power to destroy." Here to talk with me about the experience of sitting in these chairs is Miranda, who you might recognize as a contestant from LEGO Masters Season 3.
With me here is Miranda, who you might recognize from LEGO Masters Season 3. Because unlike me, she actually went to Disney World, right?
Yes.
During the time that Stitch's Great Escape was open.
Yes,
right?
I don't ever remember going on Alien Encounter when it was open.
Yeah.
So my family members have definitely been on it, but
yeah.
I was only old enough to ride Stitch's Great Escape, unfortunately.
That's right, because I believe Alien Encounter closed in 2003, and you would have been just a little goober back then, right?
Yeah.
Like 3. Do you think you went to Disney World when you were that young?
100%. 100%.
You did? Oh, really?
Yeah, my
Like
family...
they brought you when you were a little baby?
Absolutely. Like, my family grew up going to Disney World every single year. So that was something we did pretty often. And I'd probably been, 2003, I was 3 years old in 2003. So I'd probably been at least 3 to 5 times. Because that's the kind of family my family is.
That's crazy. But I can't imagine they would have brought you on Alien Encounter, right?
I don't think so. And I think in large part due to the chairs. I think it's just my family is not shy about bringing their children onto scary attractions. They never have been. But I do think Alien Encounter would have made for an annoying one to bring like a baby in arms.
Well, they did have booster seats actually.
Did they really?
I'm not. Well, I don't know. Well, you know what? I was just going to say I didn't build a booster seat for my MOC, but maybe I should because just thinking about it right now. But yeah, they did have. So this is actually a fun fact. But one of the remnants of Alien Encounter, right, that was left over. This is like one of the only things that had like Alien Encounter branding on it that carried over was the booster seats.
No.
They didn't rebrand the booster seats for kids on the ride after they rebranded for Stitch's Great Escape. So they still had the XS logo on the booster seat.
Oh my gosh. What do you think they sell for on eBay? Like, how do we
I don't
find
even
one?
know. You'd have to break in there and get one, I think. They're probably still laying around inside of that abandoned building.
We should contract the guy who stole Buzzy to get my just a
Yo.
booster seat. Like, that's
a great idea.
That'd be a simpler ask, I think.
A bit of, I think so. A bit. Anyway, what you're saying is you never went on Alien Encounter, but you were able to go on Stitch's Great Escape. And as you know, the refurbishments were very, very light. So they did keep the exact same seats. They carried over the exact same seats from Alien Encounter into Stitch's Great Escape. So that element of it, just being in the chair, having the shoulder restraints on you, being in the theater, that all remained the same through the refurbishment. And you experienced that.
Yeah, 100%. They were, as far as I know, exactly the same. So something that's interesting to know is is as much as my family has gone to Disney World throughout my lifetime, we went on Stitch's Great Escape once.
One time
Ever.
Was that a memorable time for you?
I do remember it pretty well. I was a little older. It was one of those days where, we'd just gone through everything in the park. And I don't know why we were there because we never, ever went on this attraction.
Really? Was there a reason why you avoided it?
Yeah, because it's Stitch's Great Escape, probably.
That didn't sound fun to you guys?
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Because I feel like the experience with Stitch's Great Escape is you're like, oh, that sounds fun. It's Stitch, right? Everyone loves Stitch. And then you go and you only realize it's pretty bad after you've already been on it, but you guys just avoided it like the plague before you even knew what the deal was.
Yeah, I think my dad had a good idea of what the deal was, and it did not sound appealing because he loved Alien Encounter. He absolutely loved that attraction. Like he went on it many times. He thought it was great, but obviously hard to take his million children on. Very difficult, very difficult. And then so he knows like that it's a tricky one to bring your kids on for a couple reasons. And then when it's retooled with a character, my dad's older, so he has no great affinity for Stitch necessarily, I think.
Okay, because I guess it was pretty new at the time. I think
it was.
What, Lilo and Stitch came out in, was it 2001?
I think it was 2001 or 2.
Okay, so it was only a couple of years old at that time. It must have been maybe like the modern equivalent of like going to like I don't know. What would the modern equivalent of that be? Going to like a really new ride with some annoying character that you don't know anything about?
I don't know. I want to say Olaf, but Olaf's been around for 10 years.
I was just going to say like the Minions ride at Despicable Me, but I'm like, that movie came out when I was in middle school, so I can't even say it's that
Wow, are we
recent.
old?
I think we might be old.
Wow.
The most recent
aged us.
thing I could think of is like a Minion. That's been around forever.
This is a sobering realization.
Oh, wow.
That's terrible.
I don't know. Wow. Maybe if they made... I haven't even stayed up to date with any of the Disney animated movies.
Whatever is in...
If they made a ride of Elemental, right? You'd probably be like, okay, walk past. I don't know.
That would be a really good fit for the Land Pavilion. I'm playing devil's advocate as someone who's never seen Elemental. That'd be a good fit for the Land Pavilion.
Oh, in Epcot?
In Epcot.
Yeah? Okay.
It would make sense, right?
As long as Living with the Land gets to stay, and they put it somewhere else, I could see it. Like, decent. I mean, they already have like Moana over there or something.
Somewhere over there, in the seas.
So it's like,
ooh.
Yeah, they're just kind of throwing anything in there now.
You know what attraction in the Land Pavilion doesn't have an IP that we could do a cheap reskin of?
What?
So the land is right out. It's sacred. And it would be harder to reskin anyway. But Soren is there. So what if you
wait? You saying you want to reskin Soren?
What if you did?
No, wait. You can't do it. You can't. No. No.
I'm not saying I want to.
No,
I'm
you
saying,
think living with the land is sacred, but you want to reskin Soren? That's like the iconic
well, it's Soren
thing.
around the
Everyone
world
knows
now.
that.
It's Soren around the world now. Come on. People aren't as nostalgic for that. But here's what would happen. If we are
give me the pitch. Give me the elevator pitch.
If we want something that's an equivalent, like sacrilege and quality wise to like Stitch's Great Escape, like that reskin, what we can do is we can take Soren in the Epcot Pavilion and make it into an elemental reskin. You don't change anything else. You leave most of the branding there. All of this infrastructure still intact. It's kind of like the experience of writing of reskinning Alien Encounters with Stitch's Great Escape.
Wait.
It's like that.
What about elemental has anything to do with flying over the vistas of a beautiful landscape?
I don't know that it does, but I think it's about as tidy as a fit as
like how
Stitch.
do you get the characters in there?
I think you're going into their world.
Because you go into Soren and like the only person that's there is Patrick Warburton, right? Would it be like the fire guy?
Probably.
Instead, or like
this is a hard question to answer as someone
you're the one
that
brought it up. Okay, this is your pitch. This is your idea. You haven't thought through this?
Should. No, I've not thought through this. No.
Okay.
No, I think like this it's a terrible idea. That's why I'm putting it forward, because I think it would be really in line with the Stitch's Great Escape philosophy. I think it would it would be really similar.
That's a philosophy that we should continue in the current day of the parks. I mean, they're already doing. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons. They turned Maelstrom into Frozen.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Actually, I thought Frozen was okay, but
you would never ride Maelstrom
from the ride-throughs. It seemed like Maelstrom was pretty cool.
Maelstrom was cool.
Yeah,
Maelstrom was.
But
cool.
Anyway, I'm sorry to bring things back to the chairs, which is the point of today's video for the Lego MOC. Can you tell me a little bit? Can you kind of give me the walkthrough of what it was like to go into the theater and sit down in the chairs and have the restraints and then go through the whole experience? Just like keep it focused on the chairs though.
Yeah,
that's what I'm interested in.
The chairs, that was probably my worst theme park experience of all time, because something about the chairs is someone who never was on this attraction before. So you get in the chair and you think it's going to be a little bit like a normal chair. I've sat in chairs my whole life, man. And so basically I sat down and I was kind of a little slumped, because I was a teenager probably at the time.
How old were you?
Somewhere between 11 and 15. So basically we sat in the chair. I'd been sitting in the chair. I've been sitting in chairs my whole life,
Yeah.
I have, I sat anywhere, but, I sat in chairs anywhere from 11 to 14 years.
How do you tend to sit in chairs? Do you cross-legged? Do you put a foot on the chair when you sit down?
I definitely slump, and I realized as soon as I sat down in the chair on Stitch's Great Escape, my shoulders are a little bit slumped, kind of like to one side. I don't know. I don't know if they're just like that all the time, but basically I did not realize that, the shoulder restraints, they lower down onto you and they just feel whatever's there. So they were searching for my shoulders way past the point they were uncomfortable. So I tried to straighten up. Yeah. And the restraints were locked in place in a horribly uncomfortable position.
Once they come down and they sense your shoulders, they just lock in.
They lock in. So you are in whatever position you were in for the remainder of the show. And it is not fun, because later on in the show, you might be familiar, Stitch eventually jumps on your restraints and bounces. And that is so genuinely
because
uncomfortable.
It'll crush down even further.
Yes.
Right?
It was, oh my gosh, that was memorable in a bad way.
So you would go down, you would go into the seat and was there anything before the restraints lowered that kind of, was there any sort of warning or anything in the video or anything like that gave you any sort of instruction or a warning about how the seats worked or anything, was there anything like that at all?
I seem to remember that as soon as you were sitting down, there was some sort of voiceover saying the restraints will lower, you don't need to do anything. But that was kind of as it was happening, at least in my recollection.
They don't tell you to sit up straight though, do you?
No, I don't remember them ever telling us to sit up straight. because, I don't know why. I would have been helpful.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But you're saying that like the restraints, I mean, maybe even if you were sitting up straight would have been pretty tight.
Probably.
Or because
Probably.
I don't know. I mean,
if you were slumped,
if you were slumped down in the chair and they came down, I mean, I guess, would that mostly just be a problem if you tried to straighten up after they'd already been in there? Or,
I think it would have been a problem.
Was it just uncomfortable that like you were in kind of an odd position and then got locked in for the rest of the attraction?
I was just in an odd position and it just went down a little bit further than what was comfortable, just because of where my shoulders were. So it was like that for the remainder of the show, and it was really, really uncomfortable.
I'm so sorry to hear that. That's crazy. Was it like a physical detection, or was there like a laser in it, or did it have to touch you before it locked in, or was there a laser?
In my recollection, it like had to touch you to sense where it was to lock in.
Gotcha.
Like I don't remember. I don't know the exact mechanism, but I seem to remember that it would touch you and then stop. So it didn't feel one of my shoulders, and it just kept going, assuming I was a little smaller.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I mean, on one hand, it makes sense. Because in order for the effect to work and make it feel like Stitch is, crawling on you with his little feet, you'd have to have that physical contact. So it's not like another, like a restraint on a roller coaster or whatever, where it's just there to generally kind of keep you contained in there. There's an actual like pressure special effect that goes with it that has to be making contact with your shoulders in order for it to work.
Yeah, and that
seems...
It's super uncomfortable. It's if you
Wow.
weren't in the optimal position, maybe even if you were in the optimal position, it was just a recipe for a sad time.
Sad time.
And the show doesn't make it better.
That's pretty crazy.
It's just hard when diehard Disney lovers walk out of a theater and universally just kind of look at each other and go, that sucked.
Man.
It gets this reputation for being the most hated Disney attraction. I kind of get it. I get it.
What would you say was so bad about it? Was it just the seats, or was there anything else?
So, it was definitely not just the seats. It was the actual show itself. The animatronic's pretty good. Like, I like the animatronic. I like the way a lot of the effects are integrated. But good effects can't necessarily save a bad show. It's just... I also am kind of whatever on Stitch. He doesn't bug me like he does some people. But it's just not as... He can be a little annoying, especially when you're trapped in a room with him.
In a dark room with him as well.
The show itself has, some jokes that I just don't think really land for me. And I don't know, it just doesn't really do anything. And then there's the point that I think a million people have probably made, that it doesn't matter if the alien is a little bit nicer or even a character that kids are familiar with. It's still really distressing for little kids to be in that dark room. And they are going to cry next to you no matter what. No, it doesn't matter if it's a nice alien. Just to be in a dark room with things on your shoulders and in your face.
That's got to be distressing.
It's distressing for little kids.
So, but I guess that also kind of adds to the experience of the ride, is having a bunch of little kids in the theater as well, as this chorus of screaming and crying and, people just not having a good time.
Yeah, 100%.
Man.
Not a good time.
That's crazy. Okay, what is your favorite Disney ride at any of the parks?
It's the Haunted Mansion. I know it's everybody's favorite ride, but it's like my favorite ride.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So in the Haunted Mansion, and they've got the Doom buggies. That's kind of the seating for that ride. If they replaced the Doom buggies on Haunted Mansion with the exact seat from Stitch's Great Escape or Alien Encounter, how would that impact your enjoyment of Haunted Mansion? Would it ruin the whole thing? Would it be like, okay, I'm just trying to gauge like how the chairs factor into the whole experience.
You know what? I would say it made it at least 20% worse. Minimum. Okay. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to say that would make it 20% worse.
You're going through and there's like the Hatbox Ghost and you're like, that's awesome. But you've got the shoulder restraints that are crushing you as you're going along.
You know how there's the ghost host thing? Like, oh, the bar, I will lower it for you, Wouldn't that be horrendous if it's like really boxing?
Yeah, I'll lower it for you and crush your spine. Yeah, that would be crazy.
That's what I'm envisioning. That would be bad.
Okay.
Like, we can all acknowledge that would be bad.
Yeah. So I guess what the reason why I'm asking is because everything that I've heard about ExtraTERRORestrial Alien Encounter, everything I've heard about it from, firsthand sources, everything I've seen in the, recordings that exist of it, it looks like a really cool ride that I would love to go on. And that's part of the reason why I'm recreating it in Lego. But I don't know. I mean, I do wonder if I would have a hard time with the shoulder restraints on the ride, if it would ruin it for me or anything. I mean, I don't know. Everything about it seems so cool, but from the sound of it, the shoulder restraints can be a huge problem.
You know what? They can be a huge problem, but I don't know. I'm going to devil's advocate for the ride that oh man, I did it too.
Now you've got, you got you saying an answer.
I want a devil's advocate for the attraction that I also wish I could have gone on in its original form. I'm going to say maybe it would have been cool to have those uncomfortable restraints. That would really, really elevate the show, wouldn't it? You're uncomfortable in every way. It's at least trying to make you uncomfortable in the original version.
Okay, I got it.
That would add some sort of
I could see it.
Like another 4D element.
Yeah, you think there's like maybe some sort of like uncanny sort of effect that comes across when it's supposed to be this really fun, cutesy ride for kids, but then it's just horrendously uncomfortable and
I can't speak to that
if it was supposed to be scary, it would be.
I can't speak to that since I was a little kid, but it does like stress the kids out, and it does stress the kids out, and it makes potentially unhappy parents a lot unhappier. I can say that. But on a scary ride, I don't know. You self-select anyway. There's not as many kids there allegedly. That's
allegedly.
we know how that
shook
out.
Thing, but yeah,
we know how that shook out. But I don't know. I don't think it's. I don't know. This is still the same problem, but I wouldn't mind as much if I just got to be on the original Alien Encounter.
That would be really cool.
It would be really cool.
Yeah. Last thing, on Alien Encounter, they actually had a lore element that explained the shoulder restraints, right? Because you do have to explain everything, right?
Yeah.
But they said that the shoulder restraint was like a scanner, and they were going to scan everyone in the audience to see who would make for the best candidate to be teleported in the pod in the center. Just out of curiosity, was there any sort of lore element explanation for the shoulder restraints in Stitch, or was it just it is what it is?
Jeez, I can't remember.
I know I'm asking you to go back quite a ways there.
I got nothing. Maybe there was. There might be. I don't really know, but I don't know. If there was, I don't remember it. Not at all.
Okay. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay, well, Miranda, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. I hope that was helpful.
Very helpful. Just interesting to get the firsthand, experience recorded, even if it was on Stitch and not the original.
Sad.
I'll have to find some more people that actually did go on that original ride and ask them about it.
After all this research, I've settled on my design. It's really nothing too fancy, but it looks accurate and it gets the point across. I won't bother with a final reveal because they're literally just chairs and I'm not trying to overhype them or anything. I used a couple of 1x2 jumper plates in the back to position this 1x1 curved tile between these 2x1 by 2/3 wedges. I harvested the tiles from the golden snitch side build from the Hedwig display set. As you can see, I've used these stacked 1x2 round plates so that the chairs can curve at any angle I need. I included these black 1x1 cones to represent these things on the real chairs in the attraction, which I believe are speakers. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. Now, here's my first controversial choice for the model. I decided to leave out the shoulder restraints that keep the audience in place. These are purely a convention of the attraction, necessary for safe operation and to make sure guests don't try to run away or anything during the show. Within the attraction, they have an in-universe explanation that the shoulder restraints are actually an analysis module, like something to scan the audience with to determine the best candidate for teleportation, but clearly that's dumb. If I were to add these shoulder restraints in, I just feel like they would really mess with the sightlines in the model. I know they're iconic, but I just don't feel like it would look very good if I were to include them. I don't know. Let me know what you think, though. For this MOC, I want to play into the story that the attraction represents, that this is all a tech demonstration at an interplanetary convention. What this MOC is not going to be is an attraction at Disney World with a bunch of tourists and park guests. It's going to take place in the universe of the attraction. I also made sure to use these 2x2 tiles with studs so the minifigs can stay connected to them, which brings me to another point. As far as minifigs go, I'm using some stand-ins at the moment, But in the final model, these will all be replaced with minifigs that make sense to be here. I won't be including any reference minifigs, and all of the minifigs will have a consistent design style with each other. In the story, the people in this audience are guests at an interplanetary convention who are interested in new technology. That's it. That's still pretty broad, so I'll have a diverse array of people here, but I'm not just going to be throwing any old figs in here to fill the seats. I'm not going to have Captain Rex or Bugs Bunny or whoever here. I want to use more classic style minifigs, so they'll have a yellow flesh tone. The attraction closed in 2003, which is 1 year before LEGO made the switch to realistic flesh tones and minifigures. I'll mostly use minifigure parts from before 2003. Certainly all the faces will be from before 2003. I'll have another video down the line, probably one of the last videos in this series, where I'll make all the minifigures and place them in the MOC. Anyway, I hope you're not too offended by the chairs, at least not offended enough to not come back for the next part of the series, which I'm hoping is going to be a real banger of an episode. Thank you so much for watching, and as always,
If something can't be done with excess, then it shouldn't be done at all.